Welcome. We are your hosts, Chris and Tammy.
In this podcast, we dive into the mindset for networking strategies and skills you'll need to build a solid foundation to build a global business.
We've built a multi-million-dollar business and have mentored thousands of people around the globe in the last 25 years. This evening, we want to talk about how to support an international team, starting with some of the activities that we do. Tammy and I have been doing these kind of activities for so long. And when we started thinking, okay, what should we talk about on Monday? Why don't we talk about how to support an international team? And I think that the insight I'm going to share with you could be quite insightful for you. And what we want to do right now, talk about four different components. The training is, one is how to prepare before attending an international market. Two is the communication, staying in touch. This is very important. You know, there's a difference between you having your own group and your own kind of environment, or I'd like to call it your own ecosystem within your associates. And of course, the tools and where everything is. This is very, very important. So, Tammy, why don't we talk a little bit about how to prepare before attending an international market, since you've done a lot of really wonderful work that was resulted in sponsoring people you never met, you never knew, and you started with making connection, building the relationship, and kind of build the credibility around the event, which is very important. And that's the thing that Tammy and I do is we always build around events. We don't just go there, parachute in one spot and start from zero. There has to be something around that is a magnet to attract people, to give them a reason to come and see us.
Yeah, well, like Chris says, I plan sooner than later. The key in any market in building an organization is relationships. You know, we talk about this business. It's not about the product. It's not about the business. It's about people first. It's always people first, because if they feel like they know you, like you, trust you, then they'll want to go further and learn more about it. So I think a lot of you already have this. It's just a matter of getting out there and connecting with people and letting them know that our company's coming into their market, bringing opportunity to people just like you. And you kind of throw things in there to create for them to want to know what you're up to. Always creating curiosity. I talk about that a lot, is the relationships and how I pull people off the platform. Each one of us has our own gift on how we're connecting through the social media platform. And mine is to just literally be bold and pull them off. Get over to, like, for Facebook, go into Messenger. Instagram, I put a lot of stuff out on Instagram. LinkedIn, yes. So LinkedIn and Facebook are really the ones that I've been able to pull people off the platform, have conversations with them, which leads into a Zoom session. Again, I can't stress enough the importance of building a relationship. Don't wait last minute.
One of the things is, in my case, I have a Rolodex on my cell phone, matter of speaking, of thousands and thousands of contacts. So in my case, I'm just waking up some old contacts that I've been doing business with for 10 years ago, 15 years ago in some cases. And what I do is I just call them up, and I don't talk about the business right away. I simply try to make a connection for kind of where we left off and how things are going, how life are today. So I really focus on the relationship. And you saw us before we went to Kenya. We had some flyers going around. We promoted that we're going there. We're creating some noise around it. We make some connections online through social media, and people can check our pages. They see the promotions that are there. They can see the history of what's been going on in our lives and in the business. Do you understand what happens is that your social media platform is your billboard, but over time, what's happening is there's trails and there's evidence that what we're saying is true. So this is kind of how we build a rapport with a stranger online through social media, by going back to our profile on either Instagram or Facebook. These are the main two. I use TikTok. I have to admit I should spend more time on it, but it's actually growing. And that's another avenue that is very important. So these are all the avenues to prospect. And one thing that's important as you share your videos and your content, make sure that there's always some kind of a call to action, something that will lead them to either connect with you or get more information or PM you, whatever the situation, make sure there's a call to action. Don't just do a video and nothing, because you never know, one of your video could actually go viral. Right. Tammy had a couple of them that went viral, the push-up videos. I figured, no, who cares, right? Who's good? And what happens is that if you get into a habit of always sharing some trails for people to connect with you when it goes viral, of course, the chances are you're going to get some interesting leads that may come your way. So this is kind of how we prepare. I mean, there's so much more to it than that. But the fact is, let people know, call people in your downline, ask people in your organization, do you know anyone in these markets? Because we're about to go there. And it's amazing what could come out. But if you don't ask, you don't get. Now, the next thing that's important is communication, right? Once you're there and you start having an organization that you're physically there or not, now it is recommended for you to go physically if you start to get some good presence and you start getting some good volume. This is an investment that is worth, of course, if your health permits for you to go internationally. These are things that we certainly recommend, as Tammy and I have recommended to many associates, and the associates who did have done well in bringing some good business with them. But then the next thing is the communication, right? We touch on WhatsApp, we touch on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter. These are the main social media environments. And there's others, but what's really important, the point I want to talk about the communication is don't just rely on your upline to feed everybody. I recommend you're part of the group, right? You don't want to create division. If you create division, you isolate yourself and you won't grow. You want to expand and you want to stay connected. You don't want to divide. Division is the worst possible thing in our business. As I said, often there's prosperity and unity. So stay united. But in saying that, you should also have your own WhatsApp group with your own people, so you can pass on the information and not relying on Tammy or I or whatever group you might be part of to be fed the information, for your downline to be fed the information. Because at the end of the day, you want your leaders, your associates to see information coming from you. So the fact here is make sure that you have a good communication system in place. Now, the next thing we want to get into is tools. Now, the thing is, I want you to also be very mindful. I know that Tammy and I created this board, right? And you're welcome to create your own. But if you do, you're dividing again, right? So you're dividing your team and you're pulling your team away from the source. And so, again, you want to be mindful of all of that. So it's okay for you to do things in parallel, but make sure you stay plugged in. Make sure your team is aware that the team is much, much bigger than maybe the environment that they're exposed to on a daily basis. Sometimes it helps motivating. It helps people engage.
If you sign up people who have never had experience in the industry, I highly recommend to take them by the hand, step by step, and walk them through the process on the onboarding section.
Yes, I agree.
And it's important. At the same time, guess what? You're building a stronger relationship. They know that you're going to be there for them. And because I find the couple of brand new people that I'm putting through the process, one is a little bit more hands-on. The other one's a little bit less hands-on, and that's normal. You're always going to deal with that when you bring people into the business. So keep that in mind, not just hey, go on the onboarding and go through all the documents. I mean, if somebody's never done this before, they're going to be lost, right? So
and if someone says, hey, it's overwhelming, there's too much data and stuff. Well, is that what you do when you open a dictionary? There's too many words? No, there's an index in there, right? You just go through the index, and sometimes, and Tammy's absolutely correct, someone may be a little overwhelmed if they have no idea. Some people, they'll just go through it and eat that right up. And some folks are going to be overwhelmed. So you just have to feel them out and walk them through the process and understanding onboarding. That's step one. And then first step, that's the very first step. Go through that because it talks about the core rank. So the more information that you educate your new people on what they need to do, it becomes easier to absorb the process of the activities to be able to achieve those ranks. And those of you that are duplicating that will go further. So we're talking from experience, and that's one of the reasons why we've had a lot of experience building internationally, because we're not shy in sharing the information, right? We just walk people through it. And once it's done and they got hit with all the info, I'm not saying that you need to send all the info. I'm just saying that point them in the right direction so they can start clicking and learning and evolving and start listening to the information.